Learning doesn't stop. Lessons on ABC6.
Happy Friday, which means it's time for another lesson from the Learning Never Stops series from ABC6 and PTU. My name is Shannon McLeod. I'm an English teacher at Providence Prairie Technical Academy, hashtag PCTA Pride. And today, before we begin, I just want to showcase some of our artistic parts of PCTA. For example, that picture of some fantastic pastry arts. I can taste them through the screen. They're so good. Our pastry students make those. We also have our really fantastic drama club. I have a couple of shots from there. Our students put on a fantastic play every year. And of course, who could forget our talent show where we have teachers, staff, and students will come up and participate and show off some talent. It's a really great event we do every year. This made me reminisce today about the arts because of our topic. See, our topic today is figurative language. So you might be thinking, what does that have to do with art? Why is McLeod thinking this way? Well, figurative language is really the point of the art of writing. It's what makes the writing so special. Writing is an art. We sometimes forget that. And when you have figurative language right in there, you can really see the art come through. So we're going to talk about it today. Today, we will review what figurative language is, how to identify figurative language, and when we're going to need it. So what is figurative language anyway? According to dictionary.com, figurative language is language that's intended to create an image, association, or other effect in the mind of the listener or reader that goes beyond the literal meaning or expected use of the words involved. And if you look like my little Bitmoji down there, don't worry, let's break this down. In other words, language which evokes emotion, makes writing interesting, those pieces of a story your English teacher focuses on. You'll see my little meme right there. English teachers, when poets say, the curtain is blue. I put this in there mainly as a shout out from the class of 2020, who definitely sent this to me a couple of times. But it's true. The parts of a story that English teachers tend to focus on generally are rich with beautiful figurative language. And that's why we focus on it. There's a lot to talk about with it. So why do we use figurative language and why do we really need it in class? Well, we use it because it's easier to convey complex feelings. And in class, this is the beginning of a literary analysis. You don't just write an essay and that says this book is good. The author chooses to use metaphors and similes and onomatopoeia to convey their message. What was that? Similes, metaphors, onomatopoeia, and imagery. These are 4 examples of figurative language, but wait, there's more. We're not going to go over them all today. I chose these 4 because consistently these are the 4 where I have found my students struggling. Imagery is a difficult concept. Similes and metaphors, it's easy to confuse them. And this year there was a little confusion with onomatopoeia, and I believe it's because we're not used to seeing that word written down. Because when I would talk about onomatopoeia to my students, everyone knew what it was. But when you'd see it written down, it's a weird looking word. So I figured we would put onomatopoeia in here as well. Plus it's fun. So similes, a comparison using the words like or as. Life is like a box of chocolates. She's as busy as a bee. So when you look at those, the author is saying, life is like a box of chocolates. You could take this many different ways. Maybe life is like a box of chocolates because of all the choices. Maybe because, like in Forrest Gump, life is like a box of chocolates because you never know what you're going to get until you really bite into it. She's as busy as a bee. Bees are never stopping. They're always doing something. So if you're as busy as a bee, you're always doing something. Metaphors. It's a comparison between 2 unlike things without using like or as. Life is a highway. Life is your restaurant. Again, if you really think about it, life is your restaurant. Maybe life has a lot of choices. Life is a highway. It's open, it's fast moving. You can really think of why an author would say that and kind of give it a cute little life is a highway metaphor. Gives the reader a lot more to think about. Onomatopoeia. And excuse me 1 second, I have to move my screen a little bit. There we go. Onomatopoeia is a word that phonetically imitates, resembles, or suggests the sound that it describes. For example, splat, pow, zap, bam, poof, and zwit, which is the sound that it makes when Spider-Man releases his web. Imagery. Vivid descriptions that evoke one of the five senses. But you have to be careful here. Her hair is yellow. Every year, when we start talking about imagery, I will receive something similar to this from a student. Well, I can see it, so it must be imagery. Imagery is more than just I can see it. Her hair shone like sunlight on a summer day would be a better example of imagery. We know what sunlight's like. We kind of feel how warm it is in summer. Then maybe you can picture the hair. You're looking for imagery built with figurative language. That's really what teachers are looking for when they are engaging you in discussion about imagery, not just something so literal like her hair is yellow. You have to go beyond the literal. So which figurative language is this? People say that eyes are windows to the soul. This is from Khalid Hosseini's The Kite Runner, a fantastic book. Many of you will read this year. Is it a simile? Is it a metaphor? Is it onomatopoeia, or is it imagery? All right, I'm going to look at this. So people say that eyes are windows to the soul. I don't see any words in here that make a boom or a pop. So I know it's not onomatopoeia. Let's get rid of that one right away. Eyes are windows to the soul. Well, eyes make me see, but it doesn't really evoke sight. It mentions eyes, but I don't think this would be imagery. And I'm right, it's not imagery. So let's see, it's definitely comparison. People say that eyes are windows to the soul. Well, there's no like or as. It can't be a simile, so it must be a metaphor. What's the difference between a simile and a metaphor? Dawson is asking right there. It's like or as. That's your difference. So which figurative language is this? Della lost her temper at Pita over how he treated you. She got very squeaky. It was like someone stabbing a mouse with a fork repeatedly. That's from Suzanne Collins from Mockingjay. Is it a simile? Is it a metaphor? Is it onomatopoeia, or is it imagery? Well, we have the word squeaky there, but we don't have the word squeaky when we're talking about the stabbing right in that sentence. So I'm actually going to eliminate onomatopoeia. Let's see. Well, I can picture in my mind, so could it be imagery? But again, didn't I say it has to evoke more of one of the five senses? So we can get rid of imagery. We're looking at a comparison. It was like someone stabbing a mouse with a fork repeatedly. Wait a minute. It was like, well, it can't be a metaphor. It must be a simile. Got that? So which figurative language is this? The other says something in a language that Will did not know. His voice was like the cracking of ice on a winter lake, and the words were mocking. From George R.R. Martin, A Game of Thrones. Is it a simile? Is it a metaphor? Is it onomatopoeia, or is it imagery? Well, let's see. I don't really see a comparison of two unlike things here, so I'm going to get rid of metaphor right away. And, well, I can picture in my mind, but it doesn't evoke one of those senses, so it can't be imagery. Well, it must be onomatopoeia because of the cracking, but it was like the cracking. So you could even say that this onomatopoeia was built with a bit of simile in it. So which figurative language is this? The sun had become a light yellow yolk and was walking with red legs across the sky. Zora Neale Hurston, Seraph on the Sewanee. Is it a simile, a metaphor, onomatopoeia, or imagery? All right, well, we know I don't see like or as, so let's get rid of simile. I don't see any words that pop, so I'm going to get rid of onomatopoeia. I'm looking at it, there's really no comparison, so metaphor is gone. It must be imagery. We have that light yellow yolk. It's something a little different, but it's not, it had become this light yellow yolk. So we're going to say that reminds me of breakfast and when you crack that egg. So we're going to go with imagery on this. Which figurative language is this? First day that we met, I flagged you down. I told you hit my line. You used to promise me you'd never switch on me like Gemini. Kalani featuring Ty Dolla $ign for the song Nights Like This. Is it a simile? Is it a metaphor? Is it onomatopoeia? Or is it imagery? Well, I'm looking at this, no words that pop, so we're going to get rid of onomatopoeia. There's definitely nothing with the 5 senses that are evoked here, so I think imagery is gone too. We're looking at a comparison. Well, first, I see the word like there, so it can't be a metaphor, it must be a simile. Which figure of language is this? Ogres are like onions. Is it a simile, a metaphor, onomatopoeia, or imagery? I think you guys are going to get the hang of this. It is not onomatopoeia because we're not hearing anything really about that ogre. It's definitely not imagery, and it's definitely comparison, but like is there, so it must be a simile. Why did I give you those last 2 options? One from a song, one from a movie? Because you can practice this at home with songs, movies or television shows, or your summer reading list. Come on. After how many weeks of this, you had to know I was going to bring up our summer reading list. Here it is. You can take your phone and you can scan that, and it will take you right to PCTA summer reading list. If you have any questions, you can email me at shannon.mcleod@providenceschools.org. And that's it for today, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. And as always, please stay healthy, stay safe, wash your hands, and always, always keep reading. Bye.
Learning doesn't stop. Lessons on ABC 6.